Hey everyone, welcome to the Pawareness podcast, and thanks for joining me. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and also check us out at pawareness.org and on Instagram at pawareness_official. On Instagram, we are doing submissions for Pet of the Week, where you can submit your foster pet, and we'll pick one winner every month, and we'll give $200 to their choice of charity or foster. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, so today I have Rachel Richter with We the Dogs, and I'm just going to go ahead and let her introduce herself and tell a little bit more about herself and the organization.
My name is Rachel. I lead the We the Dogs NYC team. I have a 2-year-old Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Daisy. She, of course, has her own Instagram, The Basic Flower. And that's actually how I got involved in We the Dogs in the first place. They came and did their launch event in the city, and I went to that, and I was like, I want to help. Let me volunteer. So I've been started off kind of just helping plan events, and now I lead the team.
And so We the Dogs, it's got two different Instagrams, right? Like there's one for NYC and then there's one for Washington, D.C. based as well, correct?
Yeah. So We the Dogs is a nonprofit 501c3 organization formed to work with communities throughout the country to support their local animal rescue organizations. Many animal rescue organizations struggle to share their messages using conventional methods, don't have the resources or online presence to use social media to help expand their reach in the community. So by using social media and the extensive network we've built, we're able to leverage the use of these platforms to stay connected with our supporters, publicize events and ongoing efforts, and instill a sense of community among dog owners and animal lovers. We work solely on a volunteer basis, and each of us has a full-time job that is not connected to the organization at all. We just do this because we genuinely care about rescue animal orgs, and we have a talent for thinking unique ways to bring the community together to benefit the local organizations that need it most. So we currently have teams in 2 cities, Washington, D.C., which launched in August 2017, and New York City, which launched in January 2019. And we plan on expanding that to other cities nationwide soon. And then in addition to our fundraising efforts, one of the really cool things about our organization is that strengthens locations and activities in our community. Currently, we have accounts in Washington, D.C. and New York City, and every day a new person and their dog are assigned to hold the handle and take control of the Instagram account so they can share photos and videos featuring their pup's favorite places and activities. And the connections we build with the community really allow us to have a far greater impact when working to benefit animal rescue organizations. We currently have a 6-month waiting list of people who've signed up to hold the handle in DC and 2-month waiting list in New York City. And we also plan to create accounts in other cities soon too.
So, and I'm really curious about this as well. I'm sure the listeners are too. What are some of the events that you guys hold that, kind of describe that? And I get it. And I'm kind of interested too, like, is there a pre-COVID and post-COVID? Like, I'm sure events were probably ran a little differently before this whole thing happened.
Yeah, these are really unprecedented times, not just because of COVID. So many important things going on in the world right now. And that's really changed how we've been running things and the focus of what we've been doing. Like last year, we had a ton of in-person fundraisers and events. We had our Muttcracker holiday party at BarkBox in New York, which was an amazing event, raised a lot of money for foster dogs. And it was just kind of like a fun Muttcracker themed event. The BarkBox office is usually closed to anyone except employees. They don't host a lot of events there. So that was a really exciting thing for the community to get to see the office of a company that so many of us love for our pet. And then our annual Bipartisan March, which is one of our biggest fundraisers. We had that back last March, so over a year ago, and that raised thousands of dollars out in DC. But this year, the majority of our events have been virtual fundraisers. There's still animals in need, so we're trying to be flexible and do what we can to adjust to continue to help those most in need. So we've done things like virtual trivia a couple times. We also did Teach Me How to TikTok webinar where we had some TikTok influencer dogs, do a little Q&A. So that was a pretty fun event because in COVID times, everyone's huge on TikTok. And then on the community Instagram side, we've had to get a little bit creative in showing fun days at home or socially distanced outings. Yeah, so it's definitely been different, and we're looking forward to eventually getting back to in-person events and getting together with our community.
Yeah, and I think I kind of resonated with what you said earlier about it's just a bunch of people that are getting creative and trying to, people thinking outside the box. And I saw with you that, and this is kind of like a question that interests me, is I saw that you worked for VaynerMedia, and I'm interested in are there particular things you learned there that has like given you ideas for like incorporate things in We the Dogs in particular, or even your own dog's Instagram? Can you say that one more time again? Second time's the charm.
She is the basic flower.
Basic flower, yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, I don't think I would be involved with We the Dogs if it weren't for kind of where my path led me through my career. I don't work at Vayner anymore, but worked there for a number of years doing influencer marketing. So I always said kind of right at the beginning and knew I was getting Daisy that I'm not making my dog an Instagram. Like that's my full day job. Like I don't want that to transition over to my pet's life. And then someone encouraged me to do it and I did it and it's been pretty successful. She has almost 10,000 followers. So I learned a lot through my day job on how to do that, but I've also learned a lot through her Instagram that's helped me with my day job. And that is what connected me to We the Dogs, because there's just this incredible community with the Instagram dog community, both virtually and in person. I mean, I've made so many close friends through it. And back before COVID, basically every weekend, at least a day was filled with dog events. There was always something going on. Or if it wasn't a dog event, I'd get together with another dog mom and we'd just go out and take pictures.
Wow. That's what it's all about, is connecting the community, because that's where I think the change starts, is with, people listening to this or, following the Instagram. And I think that's the whole goal of Pawareness, is to bring awareness to those, dog awareness and well, as well as cats too, and that need help. So I guess what I wanted to ask you about was, do you have to, I know that you mentioned other cities and incorporating other cities. Do you think personally that it's going to take like, what works in Washington, D.C. may be different than, Chicago or something like that? I mean, do you think it's going to be different for every city, like the logistics?
Yeah, totally. And that's why we have different team leaders in each of our cities, because New York is totally different than DC. Like, for example, when we have dogs take over and hold the handle in New York, they're way bigger on posting Instagram stories than in DC. DC is like all really wants to post a ton to the feed. So like that's just one thing that's a little different, but it's also kind of different like event wise. In New York, it's I think a little bit more Instagram dog mom focused. And when you go to an event, it's less about like you enjoying it yourself. You want to get content for your dog. So like, sure, it's nice to have some food there for a human, but I rarely eat at those events because I don't have time. I'm taking so many pictures of my dog. So like in New York, we'd prioritize more prop type things over food and things for the humans. But I think in DC, it's a little bit different.
Gotcha. Okay. Now that makes sense. I mean, I've yet to go to one of these events, but I can imagine it's probably pretty overwhelming for sure.
Yeah.
Is that like an all day thing or like a weekend thing or just a couple hours?
Yeah, just a couple hours. I mean, sometimes there's like a pop-up that's going on all day, but you would just go for a couple hours.
Gotcha. When you go to these, is there something in particular, like what do you like the most about these types of events?
I love just meeting other dog moms and meeting other people that are as crazy about their dogs as I am. And I think that's one of the great things about We the Dogs is that it's building a community beyond the community that is already there. When people take over the account and then everyone gets to follow along with their day and get to know them a little more, that's like a special thing.
Something else I want to ask is if, okay, so We the Dogs is heavily in Washington, D.C. and New York. If someone is outside of those cities, can they still get involved with We the Dogs right now? Is there any way for them to get involved hands-on?
Yeah, so we have a couple cities that we're leaning towards starting in sooner. LA is one of them, San Francisco as well. So if you go to holdthehandle.com, that's where everyone signs up regardless of what city they're signing up to hold the handle from. There's a drop down for what city. So you can actually get on the wait list in some other cities before it even starts. Because the wait lists kind of fill up pretty quick. It's like a 6-month wait list in DC right now.
Wow.
And 2 months in New York. So, and then if there is a city that someone's really excited about that's not on there, people can let us know too, because we'll need people in those cities to help us and join our volunteer team.
And how big is the We the Dog network right now? Like, what's that? How big is that looking to be right now? I mean, I guess Instagram is probably the main way you could gauge that. Is there another way? I don't know.
Yeah. So we primarily focus on Instagram. Our DC account is bigger because it's been around longer. There's over 30,000 followers there. And then in New York, we're just over 15,000 followers.
Wow. So 45,000 between the two of them.
Yeah. The goal of the community Instagram is, to bring the community together, but it's also so that we have this reach and can help rescues with that reach and use our platform to fundraise.
That's fantastic. I guess to bring into the fundraising, is there a particular charity that you see that you guys work with more often, or is it just really ones in the community? How does that work?
The reason We the Dogs is so unique is that it's totally volunteer led, and in a lot of organizations you'll find red tape and politics, the non-political kind, if that makes sense, and that kind of restricts what you can and can't do. And so we have 100% control over who we get to work with and help. We try to pick a new rescue every time. And while we've worked with large ones like the ASPCA, we also really love working with smaller ones who benefit a lot from donations and raising awareness about their mission. So try to spread it out and pick someone different every time.
That's great. I think that's fantastic. And that's one of the things I did before I started all of this was I emailed probably 200 organizations and I asked, what are the 3 main problems in the industry? And one of them was awareness, and the other was just money, like along with space. Space was a pretty common one as well. I guess my last question for you is where do you see the future of We the Dogs going? Like it's been around a while, but it's still, an organization standpoint, still pretty new. So, I mean, I still feel like it's not even it's complete. It's like the tip of the iceberg has been reached with its potential. So what do you think? Where do you think you see it going personally?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just getting started. The founder, Amber, who lives out in DC, she has just so much passion for this. I mean, we all do, but she's, really responsible for getting it off the ground to begin with and keeping it going. And I've learned a lot from her too. And I mean, with all of our volunteers, we've so many people just volunteering their time to help with this that it can grow so much bigger than just New York and DC. And I would love to see We the Dogs all over the country. Maybe even the world. We're doing a virtual vacation takeover series. So usually like in New York, we would only have New York based dogs taking over. But since we can't travel right now and just want to get people more excited, we have dogs taking over for about a week from all over the world. So that'll be pretty exciting to see like what their days are like in Japan and Denmark. And yeah.
That's going to be so cool. I cannot wait. I've already followed the page, which leads me into the next thing is to kind of close out here. Listener, right now, how do we get involved? Like, what are some yours personally, as well as the We the Dogs? How can we reach out and become a part of this organization?
Yeah, so we'd love for anyone in the New York or DC areas to sign up for the wait list to hold the handle for the community Instagram. You can do that at holdthehandle.com, and then follow our Instagrams and keep an eye out for upcoming events, both virtual and hopefully in person soon.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Rachel, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure getting to talk with you. And take care, everyone. Talk soon.